Welcome everybody to CPAC Now, America UnCanceled. I'm sitting alongside Mercedes Schlapp, and we just got back from CPAC. What an exhausting couple of days, but it was also exhilarating.
I was going to tell you, are you recovered yet?
No, I'm not. It takes me 6 months. It takes the whole staff 6 months, and then by that point, we're already starting the next one.
But we don't have 6 months. At this point, we got to be working every single day, because I got to tell you something. The Democrats are continuing their crusade to fundamentally change America, to cancel America, and our goal is to make sure that we protect your freedoms. And that's why we're here today. We're going to be here every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We've got some exciting news that we'll be sharing with you as we launch our new show, Schlappdown. That's going to be coming up soon. And we're going to have all these great guests. And one of the guests that we got to interview is a very special man. It was an exclusive interview with James Golden, also known as Bo Snerdley, who was... He doesn't even call himself Rush Limbaugh's producer. He was Rush Limbaugh's right-hand man. And so that interview will be aired at the ending of this show.
Yep, Bo Snerdley, great guy. He's a great friend of CPAC, obviously came down to the conference, played a big role, helped get Catherine Limbaugh to the conference, and I know we all miss and pray for Rush Limbaugh and his family. What a special person. And there's a lot going on in the news here. The swamp just keeps on swamping.
It just never ends. I feel like there's a, you see the Democrats are going to be floating down the Potomac River before you know it, on their way to the White House and the Capitol. But I think one of the biggest news stories that I found today was that the Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas came out.
That was good.
And he sent an email. I know, it's my Latina heritage. Wait till I say Nicaragüense.
Is he Latinx or Latinx or what is it?
They keep changing it. Now there's Womanex or something. I didn't even know what that was either.
Womex. Okay, folks, we're going to help keep you up with all this.
We'll keep you up and help hopefully find definitions for you as well. But he actually, Matt, sent an email to his staff saying we need volunteers.
Oh my God.
Because in this creation of this volunteer force at the border, because there's this quote unquote overwhelming number of migrants at the border. Now let's remember, in a recent interview that the secretary had, he said that there was no border crisis. He actually said this in a press conference. So now he's going from there is no border crisis, we have no problem at the border, to all of a sudden there's an overwhelming number of migrants at the border.
So,
give me your reaction to that.
Since we get to determine what's on the show, why don't we spend some time this week with this great audience talking about the border? Because to me it's like the biggest issue, which is, first of all, there's all this deceitfulness going on in politics. They tell us something is one way when it's really the other. They told us there's no crisis at the border when we knew that Donald Trump inherited this crisis at the border, because in the Obama years they really stopped deportations at the end. They had all this talk about amnesty. That was like a magnet encouraging everybody to come up. Then there's this question of, do they get Obamacare when they come up? Guess what, folks? They got Obamacare when they got up. You know what else happened is they got into the interior of the country, because those are the policies Obama allowed. You guys, under President Trump, reversed all that.
Well, and
much of that.
Well, and also we put into place the mitigation protocol, policies, protection protocol, which that allowed for, if illegal immigrants were coming up the border, that they would stay in Mexico while there would be the paperwork done to see if they would qualify for asylum or not in the United States. We also stopped, in the Trump administration, catch and release. What did we see in the less than 100 days with Joe Biden? He basically is now allowing for catch and release, meaning someone comes in the border illegally, they are automatically released after a certain number of days into the interior. And one thing that we know is that those illegal immigrants, despite the fact that they are supposed to show up for a court date, vast majority of them do not show up for their court date. It takes years for them to even get to have a court date. And so it is a broken system. So really what Joe Biden and his team is saying, they're saying we are for open borders. And because They are amplifying that message of open borders. We're seeing this border crisis. We're seeing a growing number of unaccompanied minors coming through the border. Now they're keeping them, what they call them, in containers.
Right.
They are at full capacity. They're also ignoring the CDC guidelines, despite the fact that we all have to social distance. There's no social distancing happening there. So I think this is a growing issue. And when you see the illegal immigrants wearing the t-shirts of, it literally has the Biden campaign slogan, and then it says, "Please let us in." That is the message that we're seeing. That is the focus, that this is the problem that Joe Biden has created, and it's only going to get worse. And for those border states like Texas and Arizona, it creates an immense problem for them.
So basically when Joe Biden and the Democrats said that Donald Trump was racist with his immigration policies, they are playing with fire, right? Because they thought that, like, if we just show that America's a good and decent and welcoming place, that all of this kind of calms down at the border. And it's just the opposite. Donald Trump inherited those Obama policies, which Joe Biden has picked up. And what you do when you tell people south of the border that they will get health care, they will get welfare benefits, they will be welcomed as illegals into the country, guess what you get? A whole bunch more of this. The other thing is that it's easily overwhelmed. That's the part that is so sad, actually, to watch the Biden administration. They have no clue on how to handle that southern border. No clue.
And they're lying to the American people, because you have the Secretary of Homeland Security saying there is no crisis, and yet he's saying the email out that was leaked saying we have an overwhelming problem at the border with a number of more migrants coming over. And so I think that they need to be transparent with the American people and realize that because of their flawed approach so far, you're going to see, you could likely see about 1 million illegal immigrants in just 1 year coming to the United States. Think about this during a global pandemic. And let's put this into perspective. The ones who are benefiting, the ones who are profiting are the drug cartels and the human traffickers who take these vulnerable families, who take these young teenage girls and try to get them through the border. But let me tell you, it is in the hands of these criminals, of the human traffickers, of the drug cartels. They're the ones that are benefiting from this broken border issue that we're seeing that's being led by Joe Biden and the administration.
So we're going to come at you this week with some more talk about the border. This is not just our opinion. These are facts on the ground. And the saddest thing of all is it really hurts the communities near the border. That's why Democrat Henry Cuellar is in the news saying, Joe Biden, you're destroying all these communities around the southern border with crime. They're getting overwrought with all these people. They have to find a humanitarian place to take care of them. It's a disgrace, and it needs to end.
One other story that we have going on is...
We had lots.
There is always a lot of
Come on,
stories
let's
going
keep going.
But we've got the big bailout, the COVID relief package that was passed in the Senate this past week. There was a lot of back and forth, whether they're giving stimulus checks to illegal immigrants, to felons. That was a big issue there. Interestingly enough, the Washington Post obviously favored and loved what Biden did, saying, quote, "It showers money on Americans, sharply cutting poverty." That was a big headline. What's your reaction to that, Matt?
Yeah, so basically we all know the economics of this because many of us have children. And the idea is when the government says to all of us, it's the government's children is how they kind of treat us, I feel like. Here's some money. Go take care of your bills. What that does is that provides a short-term stimulus to the economy. So there's no question there can be some positive aspects to this money, but it's kind of like if you have a good, well-balanced lunch or you just go out and eat a bunch of ice cream. So you have this sugar high in the economy, the money gets juiced into the economy, but it doesn't really go to any kind of investment that can help grow the economy. And, of course, it has a massive impact on our debt and deficit. What the government has to do is not give us any more checks. They need to let us go to school and to church and to work. Open up America. We know enough about this virus now where we can do that safely. That's the policy that we need.
And then in other news, we saw the big Oprah Winfrey interview.
I don't think she's that big. I think she looks pretty good.
Be nice. Oprah, come on, be nice. With Harry and Meghan. That was Prince Harry and Meghan. Do they still have their titles? They go back and forth whether they want their titles, they don't want their titles.
Hold on. Let me finish. I call him Harry Windsor. That's his name, Harry Windsor. He's just like everyone else who might live down the street.
Let me tell you, when I asked the girls, I said, hey, there's this big interview on Sunday night. Let's turn on the TV, watch the interview. They were like, no, we're going to watch. What did we end up watching that night? To Catch a Thief?
Yeah, we watched To Catch a Thief with someone was a real royal. Princess Grace. She was a real queen.
Yeah. Well, what was your this has been the big talk, I would say, all over social media. They were given $7 million by CBS News for Meghan to be able to have a therapy session about how awful the royal family was. And it really actually, it's kind of sad. I mean, you would think that during a global pandemic, people are out of a job, people can't get their kids back in school, that we have to deal with the royal drama. What do you think?
Look, it's like a tell-all book. They basically said they would dish on the royal family for, I thought it was $8 million, whatever it is, a big number, a big 7-figure paycheck to make his grandmother, grandfather, father, stepmother, look like a bunch of racists.
Yeah.
Kate was in on it.
Yeah.
By the way, I can't stand any of these people. I don't follow any of these people. Kate Middleton looks very fashionable. I'm happy
She's
for her
very
about
fashionable.
that. All the taxpayers.
The kids are cute too. I mean,
all
I
the
think kids are
taxpayers in
fabulous.
Great Britain are paying for this ridiculous lifestyle. I'd be okay with the royal family continuing. They ought to find a way to finance themselves. And for this young man, Harry Windsor, to talk about how he's having trouble getting by at $10 million when he's got everybody showering money and affection on him in Hollywood. He is a snot-nosed little ex-royal brat. And I think he ought to take his $7 million, $8 million, whatever. I think he ought to understand no more's coming his way. Because I think the American people saw that what this guy's about. I don't think they're going to want to buy much more.
Well, they've got to deal with Netflix.
By the way, she's
they've
worse.
Got another,
She's worse.
Yeah.
And Oprah. Don't get me started.
Oh,
the
I
three
like
of them.
Oprah.
The
Come
three
on.
of them. Let's move on. Three of them. Let's move on. Really.
We would love your comments on the royal family. Feel free to send us. Get on our Twitter with us at @mschlapp, @Mercedes Schlapp, @CPAC.
By the way, Harry should have married Oprah. Much better choice. That's the other thing when you're watching. Like, you married the wrong American.
Oh, Meghan
Marry
is beautiful.
Oprah. At least she's got talent.
All I know is that I think it takes a lot of I was going to use the word audacity to go out there and really just highly criticize the royal family. Try to play like you're the victim. And at the end of the day, she has all this incredible, it's getting all this attention.
You know, the best part is like a Woody Allen thing. A lot of people are saying that Prince Charles might not be Harry's father.
Oh, that is the big
That's
story.
like the big talk.
Yeah.
It's like underneath, it's like, wait a minute, why does Harry look so much different from Prince, what's his name, William?
He's very handsome. He does. There is the.
Oh,
that
so
is
you
a
think
talk.
Harry's the handsome one?
I think Harry's much better looking than William.
Well, this is part of what people are saying.
But
one of them looks like Charles, and one of them doesn't. So there you go.
But I think it's unfortunate. I think the British, the British press is having a meltdown. They're all completely concerned of how they want to protect the royal family. This is where we are with freedom of speech, right? Meghan and Harry can say what they want to say about the family. I think it's a sad situation to have this discussion in front of millions and millions of people for millions and millions of dollars.
If you ever do this to my mother, you're going to be in big trouble.
Well, what if your mother and I get together and do it?
And go after me? It's
you.
happened. I've seen it.
All right, but
I've seen that movie.
Oh yeah, definitely. But this has been really exciting. I think we want to stay connected with you all. We want you to keep listening, keep watching, and now and remember.
And why did we do this? I mean, let's go back and remind people. We started coming at you on our website through what would be essentially CPAC TV
During COVID,
because we were in the lockdown and we
Yeah.
couldn't get any good information from anywhere on what was really happening with Corona. And we had gone through this experience at last year's CPAC. And so we had our own information that we wanted to relay. It's been a long year for all of us. And I think we're all in the same position again. Our president got canceled. We had to uncancel him. At CPAC, conservators are being canceled left and right. And we feel it's necessary again to reinvigorate this effort to communicate with our CPAC community on what's going on in this country they love.
Yeah, and we can't do this without you. You all are the key to CPAC's success. We want to keep growing CPAC. It's not only going to be a national phenomenon, it's going to be an international phenomenon.
It already is.
And it already is. But we definitely want to make sure that you keep supporting us. We're a great, great organization. We're doing the right thing to ensure that we stay very much focused, loud and clear, talking about the issues that matter to you.
And go to conservative.org to find out what we're working on and to help us out. We need your help.
That's right. And now we are going to share with you our wonderful interview with James Golden.
Exclusive interview.
Yes, with James Golden. So listen in. And of course, we are celebrating Rush Limbaugh's life because he impacted so many of our lives. I remember driving in my minivan with the 5 girls, telling them to hush, be quiet, because Rush was on. And we all learned. We all learned life lessons. We learned political lessons. And it taught us to be brave and taught us that we need to speak up and speak the truth. And that's what we will miss dearly about Rush. But we have a very special guest with us. James Golden. I know him as Snerdley. I'm not saying no, it's James. But James, you've been with Rush for
30 some odd years. Since the way I counted is since 56 stations.
How was it just being with him every single day?
It was a blessing to be in the most successful radio program in history with a man that deserved every single ounce of the success that he earned through his hard work, through his, as he called it, relentless pursuit of the truth. And even more importantly for me, it's a blessing to know the man, not to have to rely on the mainstream press to define him, not to have to rely on enemies of conservatism to define him, but to know him, to be there with him, to watch him, to see the way that he treated people, including me, to see the way that he loved this country with all of his passion and with all of his heart, to see that he really, when he said he wanted the best for every single American. I was there, there's a promo of him saying that, and in the end he chokes up because that is what he thought, and thought it to the point of tears. That's what he wants. That's what he said he wanted, and it was true. The best for every single American. Every American citizen had a birthright to freedom, had a birthright to liberty, and had a birthright to enjoy and prosper in this beautiful nation of ours.
James, you and I conspired for the last couple of years to see if Rush could get back to CPAC.
Right.
And Rush didn't give a lot of speeches towards the end of his career to big events. And always knew how special CPAC was to him. And we were so hopeful he might be here this year. But I have to say something, as I felt cheated when I heard he died. I thought, well, what am I going to do? I got to check in with Rush every day because I say things all the time publicly. I don't know if they're right. And then I check in at noon, 1, and see if they're kind of right. And then all of a sudden I thought, well, maybe it's part of God's plan for us to go back and look at that great speech in 2009 when he rallied us all. You remember that moment?
Of course.
During a difficult time because Obama had just won.
Rush called that his national address, his first ever national address. And it was it was here at CPAC, at the most important place and function that conservatives have. And that's what you have built. This is the most important event for every conservative thinker in this country. There's nothing else like it. And Rush was delighted to come here. And that speech, how many times we played that speech over and over on the program again during the years since. We played excerpts from it. It was an important speech because it spoke to who we as conservatives are, who we love people. And that was one of the things that he kept emphasizing, how much we love our fellow human beings, how much we want them to be happy, how much we want them to enjoy what America uniquely has offered the world. And so that was a seminal moment for Rush, and it will live thanks to CPAC, thanks to what was said that night. That speech, I predict, will outlive all of us here.
Absolutely.
I agree with that. I just want to say, it was at a critical moment.
Right.
And I hate to say this because it seems odd, but the Lord took Rush at a time when it's reminding us that we have to fight again.
We are in a fight like no other. I heard Corey, and I heard, of course, the governor speaking about these things, but everybody knows this. There are some people who honestly think that and I'm not going to dissuade them, this thought, that the fight we are in goes beyond a fight on this physical plane. That this is an incredible fight between what is good for people and the evil that wants to tear it down. When you look at what the left is gleefully doing right now, canceling people's careers, trying to cancel thought, the idea that you cannot think independently without being sanctioned. They're trying to label all of these nice people around us and all these beautiful people that show up here domestic terrorists. And we know why, because there's an agenda behind that. This is a monumental struggle we are in. We're in a struggle where tech giants feel it's okay to deprive a business of its core business with no process, with no due process at all. They can just flip a switch and say you're out of business, no matter who gets hurt from it. We are on a very dangerous trajectory in this country, and Matt, I believe you're right. I think that God knows what he's doing.
He's probably having great political discussions up there with all the saints. And we just pray so much for his wife and his family and for you, because you all gave us such an amazing experience every day.
Thank you. You know, Rush Limbaugh, I call him now a second-generation founding father. His impact on America and his culture is going to live on.
Is that why we call it Mount Rushmore?
We should.
That was great. Well, we want to thank you so much for your time.
Thank
we
you.
are so blessed to have you here with us today at CPAC, and we want to thank you all for watching the special tribute of the great American, our great patriot, Rush Limbaugh.
Well, that was quite a moment with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley, talking about his great friend, his mentor, his work companion.
That's right.
Rush Limbaugh. And he played such a special role at CPAC. And don't worry, Bo Snerdley, we're going to be working with you a lot more because people need to hear your voice. It's awfully important. And we also want to talk about the issues of the day. We're going to come back at you with a more in-depth conversation on what's going on, this chaos at the border that basically Joe Biden and the Democrats have created. I think mostly unintentionally, because they totally miss how you actually need to have a secure southern border.
Well, they're playing politics over security, which
That's
I
right.
think is
Better
devastating
said.
for the American people. But we want to thank you so much for joining us on CPAC Now, America Uncanceled. We're going to keep talking to you as much as we can, giving you the best analysis and also with great guests. So join us tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern. Go to conservative.org. Stay with us. Thank you so much. Have a great night.